Morning YTPC, how are you all doing? Just wanted to offer another video where we made the footage some days ago, maybe 10 days ago, where we visited some old ruined castles. Well, one was very much intact and built in the 1800s on an old foundation of a ruin, and the other one is still kind of a ruin. So just wanted to share that footage with you. Listening to my Serenade radio, and Bilbo B was the subscriber who suggested this excellent little radio channel. He liked the sort of retro music from that time with no adverts, and some interesting commentary from the host, but brief commentary. Check it out. Put the link also in this video. And thanks very much, Bilbo B, and much appreciated. I'm afraid we got the chainsaw gang still here. I've figured it out now, actually. This is what bell ringers do on holiday. They go and make a lot of noise with chainsaws. And if they would be in the military, they would be in the artillery, wouldn't they? I'm just the opposite of them. I would be in, you know, the undercover stealth silent brigade. But, you know, you've got to have both, I suppose. I just wonder if he's the bell ringer from my village. But could be, couldn't it? Makes a hell of a row. Still smoking some Wilkie 515, which is, I suppose it's more an evening smoke, but it's good at any time. If it's a good tobacco, it can be good at any time, can't it? Anyway, take a look of that couple of summer walks we did and some of the footage that I captured there. Hope you enjoy it. Cheers. Just going for a nice spring walk, and see here these beautiful carp. Huge, because there used to be a monastery here, and this is where the monks used to keep their carp. Beautiful. Must be a 20 or 25, 30 that I can see. Right there. Everybody's going for walks this Sunday afternoon because the weather is about 15 degrees Celsius, just perfect. See that frog? We saw a ton of frog spawn in the other pond, and there is the little frog having a little swim. Oh, he's down there. This you only get in Switzerland. There's two guys on the top of the hill with Alp horns, very large, 2.5 meter wooden horns, and they play this music. Got to practice somewhere, I guess. There's a little footage of people picnicking next to the stream. We've got some wood fires going, so I can smell latakia. Really lovely. Here we are, the path to the ruin at Pfeffingen. And here is the castle, what's left of it. And these are on high points in the Middle Ages to protect entrance points, because there's a rather narrow valley here behind us approaching the town of Basel, and it would have been the first defence point. And a lot of pilgrims used to seek these places out to stay overnight and stay in safety. There you see July 1499, there was one of those attacks on this castle. Here you see some more information about the castle. It was actually built in the latter part of the 14th century. Here you see a plan of different parts of it built in different centuries. It was reconstructed in 1571, a long time ago. And here it gives the history, all in German I'm afraid. So the Bishop of Basel had one of his headquarters here in 1571. Even as late in the 1700s it was still used, but it was actually given up in 1761, and the county of Basel-Landschaft, so the country region around the city of Basel is called Basel-Landschaft. It's one of the cantons in Switzerland. They took control of it in 1941, seeing that it was just falling down and no one was looking after it. So 2017 they actually did a lot of restoration and put these nice stairs, metal stairs up that you can more easily get to it, and put all of this information around the ruin that you've got some idea of what's what. This was the old main gateway. There used to be an artificial moat around the castle, which you part of there you see it probably wasn't very deep or wide. They had some trouble with metal detectors, who you're not allowed to just go about anywhere and dig up in Switzerland. The ground belongs to the canton that you're in, so if you did find anything you have to give it to them, and you're supposed to only dig with permission, and usually with professional archaeologists using you as a help with your metal detector, which I think is fair. They actually at one point were guarding this place because there were too many metal detector people going around and making a mess and sometimes doing damage. See here it says this is the property of Basel-Landschaft Canton, so it belongs to the county, but it's good. Each county in Switzerland does a bit like English Heritage in Britain or the National Trust. They try to look after and preserve these ruins as good as they can and fix them up, sometimes with concrete beams, because you see some parts of the wall are very exposed and not well supported, and if you just left it, it'd be just a pile of rubble in no time. This was actually a storage room built a bit later under the main castle, and that shows what it looked like back then, 1571. Just built into the cliffside, you see, using that where they could. And this incredible view of the countryside around. There we are. You see the road that we approached on down there. This is nice. You can actually picnic up here. And there's a little grill place which is still smoking a little bit. And they even provide you with some wood. And there's a lizard. Oh, 2 lizards. Look, you see them? This little fellow. There's loads of those. And you go walks in Switzerland all over the place, these little lizards. Eidechse, I think they call them. There we are, little fellow, we won't trouble you. There's a fantastic view again, getting higher and higher up. You're actually allowed in open spaces not to wear a mask in Switzerland, you just have to keep your distance, that's all. Which if there's a reasonable air movement, the outside I think is fair enough. Here we're at almost the highest part, so you see there are a couple of floors here, even maybe 3 different levels I can imagine. And that was probably the lower level for storing things where these rocks are. Maybe there were floorboards put above them. Possibly, I could imagine. And the typical arrow shooting window that you can lean for both sides and get quite a view to shoot your arrow out, but you're not a very big target for anyone down there. You see here more information. This was basically where most of the living was done, and when they tried to renovate it in 1867, unfortunately some of the walls collapsed. In 1930s they actually did a lot of surveying of it from 1931 to 1934 to do a very professional judgment of what it needed, and when finally the canton in the early 40s took ownership, a lot of that work started. See an old picture there, and that shows you more of it was standing back then in 1867, but unfortunately some of it collapsed. As you see, there's only maybe half of that left now. Unfortunately, the Swiss have a pretty good reputation for being reasonably tidy, but the youth tends to discard stuff up here when they go up for drinking beer, or so it's they're not totally angels here either. This is the view from one of the parapets, and you see a lot of tracks and walks. At the top these days is always one of those masts for the cellular phones and whatever. This is the architect, the expert on repairing these small castles called burgs, Eugen Prost. And He was one of the people in Switzerland that tried to fix these places up in a professional way. This is actually called the Witch's Tower. I guess it's where the witches were locked up. But they say there's no proof of that. That's not necessarily how it got its name. A mystery. Now you see the little tiny vineyard here, grapes. Even this part of Switzerland has some wine production. In my opinion, it's not particularly good, but doesn't quite have the heat and the sun that the southern canton of Valais has, or Graubünden. But nevertheless, it's possible to grow grapes and make a wine up here as well. Usually the Blauburgunder grape is favoured. And here you see the old fortress from a different perspective. We've just done a 5-minute walk around these vineyard area, and there is the little castle, if you can call that. More like a small fortress really, a Burg as they called it in German. So here we have this year's crop of wild garlic, which they call Barlauch in German. And it grows everywhere here. You never would need to buy it. Tons and tons and tons. And if you pick some of this about this size and chop it up and mix it with olive oil, you've got a lovely pesto. Beautiful.
Had his tongue out.
You just see here a very small snake, a slow worm I think you call it in English, crossing the path here. Little fella. Well, he's probably about, I don't know, 20 centimetres long, maybe a bit longer. Yeah, beekeeping is very popular in Switzerland, and I think you can see on the leftmost little box there's a whole swarm of them, and I buy at least 6 pots of honey a year. It's very good in winter, and of course the what do you call it, the queen jelly or whatever that's in it is very good for your immune system. But it's very easy to get it from these local producers. Got a weird shed here that looks like it's sunk into the ground. Maybe put a pig in there or some chickens, but if you look at it, it looks like it just all of a sudden 80% of it sunk into the ground. This is the other side of that weird shed, and it's even weirder because there's a tree growing out of it. I think it's just for chickens or rabbits or something. Kind of interesting. I wonder who built that. Well, that was a very pleasant walk. Spring has moved on a little bit since those 10 days, but it's interesting that things like snakes and stuff like that are already about. Incredible. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed it. Next video is going to be from our regular place, and got a couple of ideas for videos coming up there. So I'll talk to you in a couple of 3 days. Cheers.